Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Just Another Autism Podcast. I'm Eileen Lamb, and today I am very excited to be joined by a group of wonderful people who are all part of a movie called The Plight. The Plight is a movie that features an all autistic cast, which is pretty awesome. So I'm excited to hear more about the story behind the movie and what led them to choose an all autistic cast and what the experience was like for the actors and producer and all of that. So please give them a warm welcome. Hey guys, and thank you for joining me today on this podcast.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
So, Ron, Matt, and Jacob, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and also tell us your connection to autism?
Why don't you go ahead and start, Ron? Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm the writer and executive producer of Plight. My connection with autism is my younger brother, Eric, who is on the spectrum. Additionally, I've worked professionally with the community for several years.
And Jacob, go ahead. What's your connection?
My name is Jacob Waltuck, and I play James in Plight. Autism is a part of me. I was born with it, and it makes me who I am in a good way.
And my name is Matt Boda. I am the director and producer of the film. And I recently, through meeting Ron, have become quite acquainted with autism and the community. And, it was one of the greatest pleasures to get introduced to this community in this way. So
Beautiful. Well, I love that you guys all have different connections to autism. So, Matt, why don't we just stay with you, and why don't you tell us what drew you to this project and how did the concept for a post-apocalyptic film with an all autistic-led cast come together? Was it mostly Ron's idea? Tell us.
that's a great question. So I have a company called Get It Made, and we work with screenwriters and storytellers that are outside the studio system. And essentially, what we do is anybody that has a movie or TV show idea can come to our platform, and we help them package their material at the highest level for studios and streamers or for production. And they go through these various feedback loops. And Ron found our platform. He came on, he subscribed, then he started to develop his work through all the various processes that we have. And the best work sort of rises to the surface. And once it gets to a certain point, it sort of comes across my desk. And when this movie, when it came in front of me, I was just like, wow, what a great idea. Sort of a dystopian Stand By Me. But Ron was adamant about all the actors having autism. And I just thought, wow, I really want to be a part of this. So Ron and I had, an initial call set up to talk about what the possibilities were. And, we had kicked around a couple ideas. We had a limited amount of resources. So it was fairly difficult in terms of the casting process of who to find, where to go, to get actors with autism that also were trained, and that had been in movies before and that had understand the processes of what it would take to make a quality, high level Hollywood film. And, we just went through all sorts of hoops, and we were really blessed from the beginning because there was all sorts of ways that this movie could have stalled out or not been, as high quality, with the performances or even just the filmmaking quality itself. But we just jumped right over all those hurdles, and the finished product is just quite amazing.
And Ron, why was it so important for you to have an all autistic cast in this movie? And how did you find Jacob?
One of the reasons why I wanted a truly all autistic cast was just to stay true to the story. And just to be frank about it, I didn't want to be lazy about it. Hollywood tends to cut corners and hire actors and actresses that are not truly on the spectrum. And in many ways, it's a dishonor to them. It's ingenuine, and there's, the community deserves a lot more. And so that's why I was so adamant about the actors. They absolutely needed to be on the spectrum for true representation. And Jacob, we were able to find him through Zeno Farms. That's in where is that, Jacob? What state? Vermont, right?
Zeno Mountain Farm is located
Zeno.
deep in the woods of Lincoln, Vermont.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
Vermont.
like my second family.
Yeah, so we were very blessed finding Jacob
Thank
through
you.
through the Zeno Mountain Farm arrangement that they have up there, and then the other actors we found in a school for actors with autism, acting school over in Bakersfield, California. So we were able to find all three of the rest of the remaining boys under one roof.
Amazing. And Jacob, what was it like for you to have one of the main roles in a movie like that? What does it mean to you?
Well, to play a big role in a film like Plight means a lot to me because not only was I able to go beyond Zeno after creating Finding Zac Efron, Bulletproof, and the High School Musical Best Summer Ever, which was a critical success, but it was at this role where I was able to push the boundaries of my acting. With James, this character I play, who's the black sheep of the group, I was able to play a role that allowed for me to put a balance between coming out of my comfort zone and playing a character I saw a lot of myself in.
What did you see in the character that reminded you of yourself?
To be honest, sometimes I lost my temper when I was upset and angry, and sometimes I feel like I have to bottle up my feelings in these stressful times. Although, to be honest, I am a healthy and wise and optimistic guy. And like James, there are times when I feel being pulled in two directions, desiring independence and connecting with people like my friends and loved ones. But at the same time, I know I'm never alone.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with the other actors?
Well, when I met Tony, Davis, and Chase, the important thing was to form this strong bond with each other because when you create a film, the actors have to have solid chemistry, much like the characters. And when I met Tony, Chase, and Davis, they became, as I always say, like the brothers I never had. We shared the same love of Mario Kart, and we also shared the same love of art.
And Matt and Ron, what does it mean to you to hear Jacob talk about that? I mean, I feel like this goes beyond just like making a great movie. It's just like, there is a human connection and, it's more than just a project. Were there any moments during filming that changed the way you view autism or storytelling?
Well, when I was in this film, I wanted to prove that people with disabilities are not broken and they can make monumental achievements, like in this case, landing a huge and powerful role in Hollywood among other film studios. In addition, I wanted to prove that people with autism can go beyond their boundaries while still adding their own touch. And also, I've come to understand that usually in Hollywood, when actors play a certain role, they're bound to repeat the same formula. But I did not want to fall into that trap. I wanted to strike a balance between coming out of my comfort zone, like I said, and adding my own unique touch while pulling off this role and ensuring I connected with that role.
I think Jacob took the words right out of my mouth.
Thank you.
We proved this film was a proof of concept that you can take individuals from this community and make a spectacular film. And that's what that's the biggest takeaway for me. And like I told you in our prior conversations, so many people said it was impossible, that it wasn't going to be worth it, that it was a waste of time and money. And this is proof of concept that it can be done, and you can come out with a fabulous, genuine film.
Thank you.
Well done, guys. And Ron, like, can you tell us more about, I mean, your brother was an inspiration for this movie. And so how did your personal experience with your brother like shape the way you wrote the characters in the Plight, and how you, I assume you helped the actors, stay true to the characters you wrote. Like, can you tell us about that?
Well, as you already know, my brother was the starting point, emotionally and spiritually. He's the reason why I began asking these questions about representation within the community. But it wasn't just about creating a character based on him, right? Otherwise, I would have an Eric running around in there. It was really about capturing the essence of someone like him, the community as a whole, someone the world underestimates, and letting that character exist without excessive elaborating or simplification. I spent a lot of time with these individuals on the spectrum, not just observing, but learning, living beside them, and forming close emotional bonds. And those experiences, those lived experiences that I have with my brother, those that I've met within the community, spent a lot of time, shaped every choice that we made in Plight. I didn't want these characters to be stereotypes or side characters, which we usually see in Jacob. I see Jacob shaking his head. We usually see within cinema, right? Side characters, stereotypes. I wanted full-fledged human beings. I wanted the characters to be themselves, people with agency, contradictions, humor, rage, hope, real people.
Worked out. How was it for you, Matt? Like, was it different than any other projects that you worked on?
Yeah, this was one of the most unique projects that I've ever been involved with, and it's possibly going to be the most unique project I will ever be involved with. It's such a different cinematic experience because, like Ron just said, you're used to seeing folks with that are neurodivergent are sort of relegated to like a buddy role or a supporting role. And to have a film, and we have not found another film that the entire or the vast majority of the runtime is all neurodivergent people speaking to each other the entire time. That's a different cinematic experience than most people are used to, because it's just the case that the vast majority of audiences are neurotypical. So in a lot of the movies that have, people with disabilities or people with autism, you are able as a neurotypical audience to anchor yourselves to a neurotypical actor. And in often cases in some of these bigger movies, you're able to anchor yourself to Shia LaBeouf or to Woody Harrelson. And that makes it familiar. And then, but at the same time, it pushes the authenticity of this human, this actor, into a little box where it's like, oh, isn't that cute, or isn't that funny, and but you're still able to see a familiar experience by watching this other actor, this neurotypical actor. In this particular movie, we're watching actors with autism interact with each other the entire time, right? There's only a couple minutes in the beginning where they're talking to their caretaker before they're whisked away onto their adventure, and at the end when they go and meet her sister to to try and get this life-saving medication and then move on through their journey. But aside from that 7 minutes of a 90-minute movie, you're sitting with neurodivergence, and that is unfamiliar, and that was intentional. And for me, when I watched the movie, I've never seen a movie like it. And I felt so incredibly grateful and lucky that I was the guy that the universe chose to lead this project, and to be and to be the person that led these folks, like getting Jacob's trust, getting Tony and Chase and Davis to trust me, to believe that I was trying to help them be movie stars and not supporting roles or not a buddy. And I think they believed me, and me and Ron and everybody else worked so hard to make this, these boys, these actors, these young actors, as the heroes of the story. And it was just one of the most amazing things that has ever happened to me. And I don't think something's going to come along quite like this again.
No, that's nice. You guys seem to have a really nice connection. Can you all share a moment from filming that you'll never forget? Jacob, you can go first.
To be honest, there are plenty of moments I'll never forget, but there is one that I really was proud of when my character James, in an act of redemption, attacked this dangerous bandaged scavenger to protect his comrades. I was filled with joy after doing this, but then I came to tears.
Oh, it's beautiful. Did it mean something to you personally? Like, could you relate to the character in that moment?
Mm. It's just that even though I sometimes lose my temper and I struggle with negative loops and try not to be pessimistic and angry, I try not to let my feelings get the better of me, but I know I am willing to do whatever it takes to help my friends and loved ones.
Yeah, that's nice. How about you, Ron?
There are so many memories, so many instances that I can recall. Off screen, it was like on a set of SNL. But but keeping with the film, the realm of in the film itself, I would say that I'll never forget would be the conclusion of Russell's story arc. One of the main focuses of his arc is his love for a woman that survived so many years without without a note of reciprocation. And in the end, his love has to come to a close after he comes to a realization that love no longer exists, and he has to let that go. And the act of letting go, I think, resonates with pretty much everyone in society, and everyone has their own story of having to let go. And I think that's something that I'll never forget, is because that tone piece of love and letting love go, everyone can share that.
Yeah, you're right. I think we all have a story like that. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, these guys, just echoing what they said, I could literally talk about so many different stories and so many different things. In terms of, well, there's two things really. So one of them was, I actually wasn't a part of the conversation, but I'm never going to forget it because Russell, Davis Harper, who plays Russell, in real life, he had struggled with being affectionate with his mother, like an actual hug. And Davis spent about 15 days without any of his parents. He lives with his parents. So he spent about 15 days on set with us and went to a hotel room by himself every single night, something way out of his comfort zone. And his mom came to visit the set on one of the last days of filming. And she told us that when Davis saw her, he said, "Mom," and he ran up and gave her a big hug because something had changed in him. And he sort of became, he is a man, but like he became himself through this movie. And it really like opened his heart. And it sort of broke through this barrier, I think. And his mom, this is coming in secondhand information from his mom, but she said, like, Davis never, ever hugs me. And I got the biggest hug he's ever given me when I saw him on set. So like that to me was one of the greatest things. And then in terms of like actually filming the movie as a filmmaker, I always have to think on my feet. We had very limited resources. We had a breakneck shooting schedule. One of my favorite filmmakers, if not my favorite filmmaker, Sean Baker, I watched him think on his feet when I did a movie with him, and we had some complications, and he just thought outside the box and came up with an idea that was almost better than what he had originally scripted. And there was a scene where we were filming in between two trains, and the train authority came and made us leave. But we had already filmed something that it wouldn't make sense for this scene to happen outside of the train area. So I had took 5 minutes, and I went and sat in one of the cars that were so graciously given to us by Theodore Nicholas. And I sat in there and I said 5 minutes, and I just closed my eyes and I thought, and I came up with an idea. And what I did was I moved the guys outside so you could still see the train in the background, and then adjusted the dialogue to make it make sense to be cut with the next scene that has them in between the trains. So I thought on my feet, just like my favorite filmmaker, and it worked perfectly. No one has any idea that that scene is supposed to still take place within that train. And, so that was one of the most memorable moments as a filmmaker, was to think on my feet with actors who, they locked themselves into a performance, and they had to get out of that box as well. And so all of us together figured out how to solve this problem in real time, and it was quite amazing.
I have a question for you that might be a little difficult, so hopefully you have time to think about it. If you had to describe the Plight in one word, only one, what would it be and why? I'm not gonna, yeah. Who wants to go first? I want to put you on the spot.
I would say groundbreaking. And why is because we're not going to be the last. We broke ground, and there's another crew coming. I don't know who they are. I don't know their names. I don't know the story, but they're coming behind us.
Yep. We were the first, and we showed that it was possible, and now people are going to start to think in that way of how they can be inclusive, but also make a super high quality, Hollywood movie. So for me, I mean, it might be a little cliche, but I would say unique.
Why?
So in terms of why it's unique, we've done a lot of research. We cannot find another movie where all neurodivergent actors are the center of the story, where they don't go scene by scene and interact with neurotypical actors. Every single scene, they're interacting with each other. That's why it's unique. It's never been done before. There's always a scene, like I think there's a movie called Changers, where the main two actors are neurodivergent, but every single scene they're going into a coffee shop and talking to a neurotypical barista. You know what I mean? They're still in the neurotypical biodome. You know what I mean? And they're out in the desert, and all you get is neurodivergence. You don't have any other influence coming in there to help calibrate yourself. And what I think that does is it breaks people wide open into understanding, wow, I'm in this new world, and I can hang. I can move with it. I can have an experience that maybe they thought couldn't otherwise be had without some sort of anchor point. And I think that we proved that wrong with Flying Colors.
You did. Jacob?
The best way to describe this film, 2 words. Game-changing.
Game-changing?
This film is game-changing because it changes the way people see those with autism and other disabilities. Much like Zeno's high school musical Best Summer Ever did.
I see one comment thread here. You guys pretty much gave the same answer with a different word. You think that this movie is gonna be it's gonna change the industry. I mean, that's what I take from it, and that the hope is like it won't be the last.
Yes.
Good point.
And I hope you're right. Okay, I have one final question for you guys. Is there anything else in the work that's like this or not like this for you individually, together? Tell us.
Yeah, so at the end of the whole point of the movie is they're trying to go get life-saving medication to bring it back to their caretaker. But when they arrive, and this place is called New Haven, and when they arrive, they find they find out that the adventure's not over, and they find out that there's a new place to go, and it's called Seacrest. So although the movie does wrap up in its entirety and have closure, the very end of the movie, they're on their way to a new city that we've never seen, and it continues the adventure. So a sequel to Plight is what's next in terms of the universe of this film. We're going to watch them in Seacrest, and it's going to be a bigger budget, and it's going to have more inclusivity, and it's just going to be a bigger scope, and it's going to be amazing. Plight the sequel.
Ooh, cliffhanger, I like it. Jacob, anything for you? Well, I assume you're going to be coming back for the sequel. Anything
Actually,
else?
I won't spoil for you, but James gives up his life for the boys.
Oh,
But his legacy lives on.
It's true.
okay. When is it going to be available?
So we're currently doing a non-theatrical release. So what we're doing is going around the country, and we are playing this film for free in all types of community centers and churches. And what we want is for this community and people with autism to see themselves on the screen. That's what we want first. It's the mission to take this movie around for free to various screenings, and then after that, it's sort of a normal distribution thing where we're going to go and try and make a deal with a streamer, and hopefully one day soon you'll be able to see it on a thumbnail on Netflix or on Amazon or something. But you'll be able to see it in a community center or a theater that we do essentially a screening that we set up, or a church movie night near you as we do our tour as our first starting point. So you can also go to watchplightmovie.com and sign up to watch the movie on video on demand when it's available.
Awesome. Any last words, Ron?
No, I think Matt pretty much wrapped it up. I do want to say a thanks though to the entire cast and the entire crew. You guys all did a great job, and the synergy was just remarkable, and really took my expectations away, beyond my expectations.
Well, thank you so much to all three of you for coming on the podcast today. And I hope you're right that this is just the beginning of more inclusion in Hollywood and beyond. So thank you for doing that and really making it happen, because it's one thing to talk about it, but you guys actually did it. So good job, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us. Appreciate it.